The hills of Galilee were alive with whispers, not of gossip nor war, but of hope. A man had come, not just a prophet, but something different, deeper. Word spread like fire among dry reeds. Fishermen left their nets, merchants their stalls, and mothers their homes to catch a glimpse of him who healed the sick, opened blind eyes, and spoke of a kingdom not built with hands. He was Jesus of Nazareth. On this day, he climbed a gentle hill that overlooked the northern shore of the Sea of Galilee. The sun, golden and warm, cast long shadows across the grass. The crowds gathered like waves, rippling toward him. His disciples encircled him, expectant, silent. Then he sat, and the world held its breath. He opened his mouth and spoke words no one expected, not of vengeance, not of Roman overthrow, not of temple rituals, but of blessing. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Gasps, confusion. Wasn't wealth a sign of God's favor? Yet he continued, "Blessed are those who mourn, the meek, those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, the merciful, the pure in heart, the peacemakers." Each word landed like a seed in fertile soil. For the first time, the broken were not cursed. They were blessed. "You are the salt of the earth," he said. Salt in ancient Israel was not merely a seasoning, it was sacred. It preserved, purified, and symbolized the covenant. But he warned, if salt loses its flavor, it is good for nothing. He was calling them to preserve the goodness of the world, to be covenant keepers in a decaying culture. It was a heavy charge for fishermen and farmers, yet in their hearts something stirred. You are the light of the world. The Jewish listeners knew light was divine. God's first spoken command in Genesis was, "Let there be light." The prophets called Israel a light to the nations. Jesus now passed that torch to them. "Let your light shine before others," he said, "so they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven." They were not merely hearers of truth, they were its bearers. "Do not think I have come to abolish the law or the prophets," Jesus clarified. "I have not come to abolish them, but to fulfill them." Many rabbis twisted the law into chains. Jesus unlocked its deeper purpose. Righteousness, he warned, must surpass that of the scribes and Pharisees. The people looked at each other. Who could possibly meet that standard? But Jesus would soon show them. Righteousness wasn't about appearances, but about the heart. You have heard it said, "Do not murder." But I say to you, anyone who is angry with his brother will be subject to judgment. This was revolutionary. Sin wasn't just an action, it was intention. The heart was the battlefield. He taught reconciliation over retaliation, inner purity over outward piety. You have heard it said, "Do not commit adultery." But I say, to you, anyone who looks at a woman lustfully has already committed adultery in his heart. In a culture where women were often silenced and objectified, Jesus dignified them. He called men to a higher standard, not of repression, but of respect. He taught that the inner life was just as vital as the outer. Let your yes be yes and your no, no. In a world of manipulation and oath-taking, Jesus spoke of integrity. God's people must be truth-tellers. He emphasized that truthfulness wasn't about swearing oaths. It was about embodying truth itself. If someone strikes you on the right cheek, turn to him the other also. Not weakness, but strength under control. The Roman world prized honor and revenge. Jesus proposed radical forgiveness. He called his followers to break the cycle of violence, not through surrender, but through holy defiance rooted in love. You have heard it said, "Love your neighbor and hate your enemy." But I say, love your enemies. Even his disciples squirmed. Love the Romans, the tax collectors, the Samaritans. But this love, agape, was not mere emotion. It was willful, sacrificial, divine. Do not perform your righteousness before others to be seen by them. He exposed the hypocrisy of public religion. Prayers for applause, giving for praise, these he rejected. True righteousness, he said, blossoms in secret. When you pray, say, "Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name." The prayer was brief, yet bursting with meaning. It placed God first, asked for provision, forgiveness, and protection. He called God Father, intimate, near. It shook their understanding. No rabbi had dared speak so personally of the divine. If you do not forgive others their sins, your Father will not forgive yours. Forgiveness was not optional, it was oxygen. Breathe it in from heaven, breathe it out to others. Without it, spiritual suffocation was inevitable. Do not store up treasures on earth, but store up treasures in heaven. He taught detachment, not poverty. Wealth was not sin, but obsession with it was. Where the treasure is, there the heart would be. If your eye is healthy, your whole body is full of light. What one looks at, desires and focuses on, this shapes the soul. The eye was the spiritual lens. Jesus urged clarity of vision. Fix your gaze on what is pure, eternal. You cannot serve God and money. He knew the human heart could only be loyal to one master. Jesus demanded total allegiance, not because he was cruel, but because divided hearts fracture. Look at the birds, consider the lilies. In poetic cadence, he called for trust. Anxiety, he said, stemmed from unbelief. God knew our needs. Faith wasn't denial, it was dependence. Do not judge, or you too will be judged. He did not forbid discernment, but hypocrisy. Remove the log from your own eye first. Righteous judgment was humble, not harsh. Ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be opened. Prayer was a pursuit, not a performance. God wasn't distant, he was waiting. Jesus portrayed the Father as generous, approachable, and loving. Do to others what you would have them do to you. This distilled the law and the prophets. Not passive kindness, but proactive love. It was not enough to avoid harm. One must actively seek good. Enter through the narrow gate. He warned of easy paths that lead to ruin. The road to life was hard, unpopular, uphill, but it led to glory. Few would find it, but those who did would never be the same. By their fruit you will recognize them. Not everyone who claimed spiritual authority belonged to God. Jesus taught discernment. Examine lives, not just words. Everyone who hears these words and does them is like a wise man who built his house on the rock. The storm comes to all. Only foundations of obedience can withstand the flood. Faith is not feelings. It is doing what he says, come what may. When Jesus finished, the crowds were astonished. He spoke with authority, not like the scribes. His words pierced, uplifted, unsettled, and ignited. They had climbed a mountain to hear a man, but left having encountered God. Here are some lessons from the Sermon on the Mount. True greatness lies in humility, mercy, purity, and peace. The heart matters more than outward actions. Forgiveness is vital to both spiritual health and community healing. Trust in God dissolves worry. Love is not earned. It is given, even to enemies. Foundations of faith must be laid in action, not just admiration. The Sermon on the Mount is not just a message, it's a manifesto for the kingdom of heaven. And its echo still calls us to the heights. Before you go, pause and consider. Which part of Jesus' sermon spoke directly to your heart today? Have you been building your life on sand or on the rock of his words? How do you handle your enemies? And what would it mean to love them? Do your actions reflect a faith that is lived out or merely spoken about? What kind of fruit is your life bearing? And whose kingdom are you building? Let these questions stir something deep within. The Sermon on the Mount isn't just ancient wisdom. It's a divine invitation to a new way of living. Life lessons to carry. With you, God values what the world overlooks. The poor in spirit, the meek, the mourning, they are blessed. True righteousness begins in the heart, not in religious performance. Forgiveness is not just a command, it's freedom. Holding on to offense is like drinking poison, hoping the other person gets sick. Love is the mark of the kingdom, especially when it costs us. Your life is always building something. Make sure it's anchored in truth that withstands every storm. If this message stirred something in you, don't keep it to yourself. Like this video to spread the message. Comment below what stood out most to you. What will you do differently starting today? Subscribe to Joint Heirs Bible Stories for more powerful biblical retellings and timeless truths that come alive through story. Let's grow together in faith, in purpose, and in truth, one story at a time.